Hey there, Christoph here. I wanted to share some thoughts on illustrations I've been working on. So I'm currently here in my design guide illustrations file. There are here on the left a whole bunch of different pages, and I grabbed some of these illustrations here for this video, but the file is also publicly available for anyone to work with. So a lot of my starting point is here. So on the left, there's this Nike campaign, which uses a very simple outline style, like a coloring book maybe. And then they apply all kinds of different visual expressions here. Some of them, this looks like it was drawn with a marker. Here you have some photography superimposed. This one maybe looks a little bit more of a digital style. So I like this idea a lot, that there's this very consistent, very simple black and white style. And then you can take a lot of different approaches with it, because I think, as a design community, we'll have a lot of different people with different backgrounds and ideas and visual skill sets contributing. So if we can have something that kind of works in a very minimal way that we can use for certain things, but then we can kind of evolve it and ramp it up, that's something that potentially could work for a lot of people. And then also here the MTV logo, which uses the same idea. So here are some examples of one illustration here that talks about node hardware. So there's a page about hardware with different types of hardware, and each category has its own illustration. This is one of them. And here's the basic black and white version. Then this is applies a style. The style doesn't communicate anything. It's just a style that's applied here with vectors and strong colors. This is a different type of style that uses texture and gradients and shading. Feels a bit more three-dimensional that way. And here is very different illustrations about what a ledger is, what a ledger looks like, communicate that concept. Talks about Hawaii pizzas, so there's some pineapples. It's really just a decorative element here. So these are some of the styles in the way that I've been using, and you can kind of see the consistency in between all of those. But the visual style is really just kind of pretty freely chosen here. And these are kind of ugly, but we could have a lot more of these. These are just some things that I've messed with. And so here, again, more of the black and white versions, so it could be used to communicate different types of devices. It could be user flows or flow charts, here explaining the type of keys that people might be aware of. There's no physical image of what an extended public key looks like, so it's just much more about information. Same with these two here. This is for the tech primer, where the technology of Bitcoin is loosely explained, and there's always a little bit of text and an image, and together they ideally communicate the concept, the technical concept, pretty well. So that's purely for information. Then taking a step a little bit away with these abstract illustrations here. So this one, so here the one's about information, this one's about actual objects, and this one here is about an idea. So why Bitcoin is unique. There's a whole page about it. So the idea of the top banner illustration is to communicate a series of things, and one of them stands out. It's unique. So, and that's kind of the introduction to the rest of the page. This one talks about a series of steps in the usage lifecycle. User goes from not knowing about a project to knowing about it, being interested in it, trying it for the first time, using it again, becoming a passionate user. So this one looks a little bit more like that black and white style, still recognizable. And this one here kind of goes away from it. We can make it look more like that style. Either way, for this one, I just wanted to explore something different, but it takes the same idea of taking a concept and illustrating it, and then the content, the page content, actually explains each of those categories and of these finance, budgeting categories, and what type of wallet setup might be appropriate. Then a totally different type of illustration that is not really tied in with this black and white style anymore, which I think it's okay. It doesn't all have to fit perfectly. I feel like this over here is kind of our baseline that's pretty easy to work with because it's really standardized and it can show a lot of things. And then when we want to we can take some illustrations and make them look whatever we find appropriate for that type of content, or whatever designer thinks is appropriate or wants to work with. So I think we can have a bunch of freedom there. So this is a series. They all talk about different aspects of Bitcoin. The top one here, Bitcoin Island, this takes the same symbol. Looks like a map. It's something people may already aware of, this type of look, already have certain associations with, so it picks that up. The blueprint also brings certain associations. So this talks about, this is for the tech primer page. So it makes you think about how is Bitcoin constructed, what are the parts of it, and it looks like the blueprint idea kind of communicates that. And this one, why design for Bitcoin? This is just a general thing. It talks about design, creativity. Like on the left, there's a blank slate, but somebody already, put their personal touch on it. And then these are more of the one-offs, and they're really far away now from this black and white thing, but to me, that's totally fine. This also picks up a recognizable image of Post-its, a lot of times associated with research. And this is for the user research page. This one looks like a book. It's about common user flows, picks up the idea that's used in design, that we think of verbs as the things that people do. So I'm installing something, I'm receiving, I'm sharing, I'm updating, I'm deleting. And this is more about thinking through that type of experience. So I wanted not a digital look. I wanted to look like this is kind of an idea where you're thinking about the real world. So that's why this booklet here. And these two are two companion, what do you call it? The companions for different pages. One's about hardware, one's about software. So I wanted to, for the hardware, make it look like hardware. There's kind of the look of metal here, like physical things. And this one looks more like software, a little bit more wild here. And they're right next to each other. So hopefully those headers kind of provide the intro. And then a similar idea of the other pages where these are the categories. These are the categories of software. And the page goes through each one of them and explains them. So this kind of has been an evolution for me, and I've been iterating, and I assume this evolution and this iteration will continue. I hope we can collaborate with a lot of people, and then together we'll do some really good work. This is just an overview of how I started and some of the work I've done and where I'm currently at. And I'm pretty excited to see what we'll come up with together. So, cool, thanks.